Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. So, I am Megan. Thank you very much for coming in. I've been with Archer for probably about 2 years now going on. We're doing a free webinar tonight talking about stress reduction. So, thank you again for coming and joining us. I have the lovely Miss Jennifer Bonner, who is going to be doing our chat support. So, just a little housekeeping rules before we start talking about some stress reduction techniques. So any questions you have, put that in the Q&A because I don't want that to get missed or anything like that. That way everything can happen. And then if you have any other comments or hellos or anything like that, you can put that in the chat, okay? That way we're not missing any questions that sometimes can be missed. All right, so we're going to talk about stress reduction techniques, especially for NCLEX success, but really it can be really stress reduction for anything. I know that I have a high stress job. I also know that I'm a high anxiety person. So a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today are going to kind of help with that. So, first thing we're going to talk about is, why does stress management matter? Why do we even care about stress? Because you have to think about it. Stress can help with physical health, mental well-being, and it really can impact our relationships too. So let's talk about physical health for a second. That chronic stress is actually linked to actual physiological and issues, high blood pressure, heart disease, and some other issues, diabetes. It can actually also weaken your immune system. So I know whenever I am really highly stressed, I can actually feel like I can catch colds a little bit easier because it is more. It just kind of breaks everything down. So it's going to have you more susceptible to illness. And then we know we always have to stress our mental well-being. Stress can add to anxiety, depression, and burnout. And burnout is such a high thing when we're nurses, but when we're studying for that stress, I like to go on and on about I like to prevent burnout whenever I'm working with students that are taking the test because burnout is so bad. And you know what? I don't know. I've been there. I've been burnout, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But it also it impacts our ability to focus, to remember things, and to actually make decisions, even trivial decisions. I don't know. I know you might think that it's funny, but on days that I'm really highly stressed, I can't even make trivial decisions on what I'm actually going to eat for dinner or cook for dinner for my kids. And that's that stress that's talking. And then that can kind of put a hold on our relationships. Stress, especially of me, I can relate to this, can make me very irritable, um, withdrawn, that I just need to sit and like zen out. And that can put an impact and a little strain on relationships, especially it's affecting your personal and professional relationships. That then goes along with your productive performance. If I'm overstressed, I know that I'm not putting out the best work that I can be because it puts mind blocks and I can't be creative. I'm not motivated, right? So when we manage our stress, we're actually boosting our clarity and resilience in our performances. And really, whenever we have a high amount of stress, we have a really poor quality of life. So when we're reducing our stresses, it's actually going to help us sleep better, maintain a positive outlook, and just enjoy life a little bit better. So that's why stress management is really, really important. But first, we have to talk about, what is stress? Why is stress so important? So, really, stress is our body's natural response to any demand or challenge. It's basically how our brain and body are processing the extra pressure. It could be from work, finances, relationships, health issues, or any other situation. There are two types of stress. We have positive stress. There is a such thing as positive stress out there. And that positive stress is actually going to help us stay alert, motivated, and focused. So we can actually improve some performances. So let's think about it. NCLEX. NCLEX is high stress, right? So positive stress can actually help improve some exams scores or big games. But if it's chronic stress, that's where it can relate, and that's what we're going to talk about next. But then we have our negative stress, right? We have that distress, if you want to call it that. And that happens when the challenges kind of feel overwhelming and overburdening or never ending. And that's when it's going to start impacting our mental and physical stress because our stress triggers, well, remember, our fight or flight, right? So if we're triggering this fight or flight, who can tell me which hormones we're releasing? Anybody remember? That's our epinephrine and norepinephrine, right? That is our fight or flight symptom. So we have to think about that, and it's going to help us deal with those threats. So while this is useful in short term, those chronic long term stress is when it's going to start doing a serious toll on our mind and body. So tell me in the chat, what do you think? What type of stress is the NCLEX? Is that going to be short term or long term? Anybody want to tell me? Short term. It really is meant to be too short term, right? Because it's supposed to be stressful up until that time and then after that. But it can turn into long term, especially if you're those repeat test takers. If I can talk tonight, those repeat test takers can actually turn that into a long term, and that's where we have to think about that burden, that burnout we talked about. So you're right, short term it does finish. Ultimately, it is going to finish, and you're right. So that's the difference. What is our acute versus chronic? You guys nailed it. That short term and that acute stress is it comes and then it goes quickly. So as soon as we get that whatever is stressing us out resolved, the stress is going to go away, right? It can be very helpful in small doses. It's our body's response, but it needs to go away, right? So think about it, like getting stuck into traffic, that and being late, especially for an appointment. That is acute short-term stress. Having a job interview, and then it's once it goes away and calming down. Then we have to talk about our long term, our chronic stress. That is when the ongoing stress is just over and over and over, and it just wears you down over time. So this might be financial strain, toxic relationships, if you are in a bad working environment, ongoing health problems. And this chronic stress is what's going to start moving towards that mental health and physical health breakdown. So we're going to have insomnia, high blood pressure, weakened immune system, anxiety, depression. So we really need to try to get ways to kind of help with that. So when we're talking about stress, it affects many different things in our body, right? But it also affects our memory, focus, and a performance. Remember, I said short-term stress can temporarily sharpen that memory, whereas that long-term stress kind of constantly drives you down over time, making it more harder to concentrate, making those trivial decisions. So we really need to try to combat that stress so we don't get that burnout. We don't make those repeated mistakes. So think of it like this. A little stress is like fuel, but too much is like flooding that engine. Okay, and that's what we don't want to do. So how do I know if I'm stressed? Everyone presents differently, okay? Some people can get physical symptoms, headaches, fatigue, GI upset, right? I start getting, tachycardia. Emotional signs, irritability and anxiety. When I'm stressed, my kids know that I'm stressed because I get a little bit more snippy, right? And then we have those behaviorals. We procrastinate. We have that low lack of motivation because we don't want to be doing things. We need to try to combat that. So let's talk about ways to combat it. Mindfulness and meditation. So think about it. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is just a practice of intentionally focusing attention on the present moment without judgment, right? It means noticing what's happening right now, but taking into consideration what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what's going on around you. Not trying to change it or fix it or push it away, but just being observant. So, key elements of our mindful awareness are being conscious of our thoughts and feelings, accepting, observing without labeling things as good or bad, and being present. Okay, instead of getting lost in that past and future, we're being present right here and there, and that can be really difficult. I know if I start doing something and I'm thinking about tasks that have to get done, or my mind starts going array of thinking about, okay, I can easily get that project done, I'm not present in the moment. So those benefits of mindfulness are going to reduce that stress and anxiety, improving on focusing your memory and boosting your emotional regulation. And it's also going to promote overall well-being and better sleep. So why is mindfulness benefits for our NCLEX prep? Why do we think it's going to do? Why is what is it going to do whenever I'm taking that NCLEX or even preparing for it? Can anyone tell me? Well, if it's going to improve my better sleep and overall well-being, I can't talk. It's going to improve my focus and concentration. It's going to help. Good job. Thank you. Good. Focus. It's going to help your brain train itself to stay on the present question. Try to reduce those distractions, especially if you're sitting in long time study sessions or doing the actual exam or even doing those readiness exams or CAT exams, because that can be up to 150 questions, right? It can reduce our overall test anxiety. And I know everyone has a touch of testing anxiety, but sometimes it can debilitate some people, myself including. I have high testing anxiety. So by that mindfulness, it's going to calm that nervous system and lower those cortisol levels, so lower that stress rate, helping you stay that focused and centered, and it's not going to kind of hijack your mind. And then it's going to enhance that memory and retention. So making you again fully present. I like to joke and do a little visual whenever I'm talking and I'm helping students when doing my private tutoring. As you know, you need to be 100% present on that question. So I know I'm old. If anybody knows what an Etch-a-Sketch is, they had it on Toy Story, but it's that little red box with the two white knobs down here, and you kind of move one knob to make a line, one like horizontal and one line to make a line vertical. But the way that you kind of erase that Etch-a-Sketch is you shake it. So sometimes I think when I try to kind of do this guided imagery is if I'm really distracted or if I'm really focusing on questions that I just answered, taking like visually thinking that I'm taking that computer screen and kind of shaking it a little bit to give you that clean slate, because you need to have 100% concentration on each answer that you or question and answer choices that you're reading right then and there. It's going to sharpen those critical thinking. Remember, those NCLEX style questions have that critical thinking and clinical judgment to test our prioritization. So we need to have those sharp critical thinking skills whenever we are taking this test. So let's try a short guided meditation. I am not a meditation person, but we're going to try it, right? So get comfortable, sit or lie down wherever you are. Let your hands kind of rest gently, like I'm sitting in my chair right now. I'm just going to rest them over here. Close your eyes if that feels okay. If it doesn't make you feel okay, then don't close your eyes. And we're just going to take a deep breath. Inhale slowly through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in a moment and then exhale through your mouth. Again, 4 seconds. Repeating that 2 times. Again, while you're doing that, you want to bring your focus to the present. Notice how you're sitting. Are your feet on the floor? Is your back against the chair? I'm sitting cross-legged in my chair right now. Let go of those thoughts of your exam and studying and your to-do list. Just gently focus on that breathing. And then choose a simple phrase to anchor to. Silently repeating, I am calm, I am focused, I am prepared, whichever works best for you. Say it a few times that in rhythm with your breathing, and then gently return whenever you're ready by wiggling your toes and your hands, taking one last deep breath to carry that calmness with you and do it. You can do this if you're overwhelmed. You can do this anytime before studying, while you're studying, taking a break right before the NCLEX. Whenever you're having a stressful day, if you're sitting in traffic, if you're sitting there not moving, don't close your eyes while you're driving. But if you're sitting there not moving and you're getting really stressed out, try to refocus. The other thing that's going to help with that is time management. I know we say this constantly about time management, but time management really is going to help with this. So, has anybody ever heard of the Pomodoro technique? And this is a time management technique that helps you work with focus to avoid those burnout by breaking tasks into manageable chunks. So, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a task you want to work on, set a timer. Everyone has our phones right next to us. Set a timer for 25 minutes. This is one Pomodoro. Work while full focus until that timer rings. Then take a 5-minute break. Repeat those steps 4 times. After the fourth Pomodoro, you're going to take a longer break, about 15 to 30 minutes. And then you can continue doing that task, that original task that you went on to, or you can start a different task. Why this works, especially for our NCLEX prep, is it's keeping those study sessions very focused and intentional. It prevents that burnout from long, unfocused cramming sessions. Because come on, let me tell you, how many times do you end up like this and you read the same sentence 4 or 5 times, or you didn't even hear what that video just said that you're watching? It trains your brain to work in bursts of high attention to be able to reduce that mental fatigue and improve those long-term retention. The other thing too is having study schedules. Study schedules is fantastic. And some tips that we can talk about now is having a realistic goal, knowing your test date and then work backwards. So kind of know, so if my test date is on June 30th, I don't even know what day of the week that is, but June 30th, and I know that I have 7 weeks. I'm not making that up. I know that I want to know the week before the test, I'm going to do this. The week before, the 2 weeks before the test, I need to do this, and kind of work backwards, setting those realistic goals. Using a study block method, kind of like that Pomodoro that we just talked about, breaking those study times into little sessions with breaks with it. Again, to help preventing that burnout and boosting that focus. After 2 hours, take a longer break. Mixing up the content daily is good too, because we want to keep that brain of ours on point, right? So we want to make sure that we're mixing up that content and the practice questions and rationales, because it's going to kind of make your body and your brain, but your brain kind of be able to pivot just like the NCLEX, because you don't know what kind of questions the NCLEX is going to throw at you, right? So morning, do cardio or content review, cardiac, pharmacology, whatever. Midday, do some practice questions. And then the evening, review those rationales and those weaker areas. That's going to kind of help you pivot those, because you don't want to just sit there and spend 7 hours watching videos or doing questions. You're going to get burnout and you're not going to be able to answer those questions the best you can do. Scheduling those mindfulness break times is going to be really helpful, because it's going to, again, give your brain a refresh, keeping it more resilient under that pressure. And sometimes you can do theme days. Focus on one topic each day. Monday, you're doing peds. Tuesday, you're doing mental health. Thursday, you're doing OB. Helping you structure your week and spot patterns. And again, remember, when you're sitting down and doing a study schedule, this is the big thing that everyone kind of forget, because you want to kind of map it out, right? The study schedule is not made and set in stone. If something comes up in your life, if you get called into work, or if you just worked a 12-hour shift, do you think you're going to be able to retain any of that information that you just do a review after a 12-hour shift, or do the best on those practice questions? Absolutely not. So if you're already feeling fatigued, if you're already feeling burnout, don't sit down and study. Okay? And you need to prioritize sleep and health. I always think that whenever you're doing study plans, you should always do at least 1 to 2 nights a week that you are kind of off, that you are just doing something that you like to do, because that's going to prioritize that mental health and really just that resting your brain. Do not sacrifice that rest. Make sure you maintain hydration, eat some healthy snacks, and move. Get up and move. Sitting in a chair is not fun. Okay. I am a big proponent of breathing. I think breathing techniques helps so much. So there's a couple different breathing techniques that we're going to talk about. So there's the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and this is a very simple relaxation exercise that helps reduce sleep. And actually, I kind of do this sometimes if I can't fall asleep, if I can't get my brain to shut off, I kind of will do this to kind of help me relax a little bit. It's basically a pattern that helps calm that nervous system. So what you're going to do is you're going to exhale completely through your mouth, making a whooshing sound. Then you're going to inhale quietly through your nose and count for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 7 seconds. And then you're going to exhale completely through your mouth over 8 seconds. So inhale quietly for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. You're going to repeat this 4 times, or if you want to do more, then feel free to do more. And it's going to help reduce our anxiety, maintain that calmness. And again, it really works at bedtime. I do it sometimes whenever I can't shut that mind off. Then the other thing you can do is box breathing. So this is known as square breathing. It's simple but very powerful to help reduce that stress, increase that focus, and just actually enhance our mental clarity. So it involves 4 steps, each one lasting an equal amount of time, the same like the sides of a box. So you know there's 4 sides of a box, and it's each side is equal. So that's how this is going to be. So you're going to inhale through your nose for a count of 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Exhale out of your mouth for 4 seconds. Then you're going to hold your breath again for 4 seconds. So you're making that whole box. So inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold your breath again. And you can repeat this cycle for several minutes if you want to. Again, aiming at that relaxation, focusing on your breathing. A lot this actually works in the military, does this, athletes kind of do this, and it kind of helps you that mindful practice. Okay. You can adjust your times and each step, whatever works for you, but just make sure that each one of those 4 steps is the same amount of time. So I'm going to set this timer for 30 seconds and we're going to try a breathing technique. Okay, so let's try a breathing technique. Could I do 30 seconds? I can. Look at that. Okay. All right. So whichever breathing technique works for you, we're going to try it. Ready, set, go. All right. Did anybody feel calmer? Does anybody feel calmer? Sometimes if I'm really, really anxious, I even kind of take those breathing techniques a step further. And as I'm doing my breathing, I kind of do a guided imagery kind of thing, and I go to my happy place. My happy place happens to be the beach, but as I'm taking those breaths and relaxing, I am picturing myself at the beach with the sand between my toes. I can hear the waves crashing, etc. All right. So I hope that kind of worked for some of you. You feel a little bit relaxed. The other thing that we need to talk about is some physical activity and sleep. Sleep is so important, guys. It really is. We need to try to stick to a regular sleep schedule. Does that happen all the time? Absolutely not. No, I have kids and I'm running all over God's creation all the time. So I know it doesn't happen. But getting a good night's sleep is very essential to not only our physical and our mental well-being, because really, while we are sleeping, that is when our brain is healing. And as we are healing, it is kind of processing that, transitioning that short term to that long term memory. I would like to say my son had a concussion, probably about, it's almost been like 2 months now. Finally got cleared, but he wasn't sleeping and he wasn't getting any better. He was having really difficulty sleeping. So they gave him some medication to kind of help him sleep a little bit. And he improved vast improvements within 2 weeks because he was actually sleeping and letting that brain of his heal. So create a relaxing bedtime routine, whatever that might be, getting a warm bath, reading, whatever, practicing relaxation techniques. Limiting screen time before bed is really important. I cannot say that I do that because I don't, because I'm laying in bed looking on my phone. But it really is because that blue light emitted by that screen can actually interfere with the production of our melatonin. Having a good sleeping environment, making sure your bedroom is, if you like to sleep in the cool, keeping it cool, don't get overheated. Be mindful of what you eat and drink at night too. Limit naps. Short naps, about 10 to 30 minutes, can be very refreshing, but long naps or naps taken too late can actually interfere with that nighttime cycle. Exercise. Exercise is your natural stress relief. It can actually help you fall asleep faster, keeps staying in a deeper sleep, but you want to make sure that you're not doing it right before bed too. Getting exposure to natural light is really good. You know that vitamin D does tremendous amounts of help with our health. The other thing too is having social support and motivation. We are our biggest cheerleaders, but so are our support systems. So have them around there doing that. Having that positive reinforcements of on you every day. I want you guys to wake up saying, you know what? I am good. I am worthy. I am fantastic. That's that positive reinforcement. Having study groups is another big thing that can help with that. And then just reducing those compare that comparison stress. So don't kind of go out and go crazy and become stressful. Don't have if you have a stressful job, you have a stressful job, but you want to try to reduce those other kind of stresses. Sure pass combo. Excellent. Love it. All right, nutrition and caffeine. So there are brain-friendly foods. There really are. Okay. So our brain-friendly foods are fatty fishes, right? Those foods are going to help with our supporting our brain health, improving cognitive function, and boosting our memory. So fatty fishes are salmon, mackerel, sardines, high in those omega-3s. Blueberries are fantastic. They are packed with those antioxidants. Nuts and seeds, such as our walnuts, almonds, chia seeds, flax seeds, they're going to help with those antioxidants, those healthy fats, high and rich in DHA and omega-3s. Dark chocolate is actually very, very healthy. It can improve our brain plasticity, enhancing our memory and boosting our mood. If I have an excuse to eat chocolate, I'm going to eat some chocolate, right? Those leafy greens, again, high in those nutrients. Avocados are fantastic. Other berries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, turmeric, broccoli, and eggs, right? So green tea is another big one because we want to make sure that we're staying hydrated. Staying hydrated is going to be really, really key on that because that's going to make sure that you are processing everything that you need to be processing and managing our caffeine intake. I know, yes, I can't live without my caffeine. A lot of people can't either, but that's going to help with it too. Creating your own toolkit. Build your own stress relief toolkit. I like to think is I know we give lots of examples and lots of tips, but you never know if it's going to work for you unless you try it. So choose 3 go-to methods that works best for you. Write them down, share them with a study group, share them on social media, whatever. But building your own stress toolkit and anxiety decreasing toolkit is going to help you be able to know what you can go to quickly. So I know we have a couple minutes left. I just want to give it a couple seconds. I want anyone, does anybody want to share what works for them to decrease stress? Anybody want to share? You can come off of mute. You can do it in the chat. Meditation. Excellent. Thank you, Grace. Prayer. I'm right there with you. Prayer is fantastic. Breathing techniques and letting go for a while. That's a good thing too. Sometimes if you're overstressed, just kind of stepping away for a minute and doing that. Oh, hypnosis. That's a good. Listening to music. Mm. Gardening, that's going to help with your vitamin D, right? Sitting by myself quietly. Sometimes you just need that, especially for how busy. I mean, I know that, oh, Mozart, I love that one. I have kids. I'm just like many of us probably have kids. My kids are like at a 13 and 9, so they're pretty independent, but I'm still running them around. The kids are involved in activities. So sometimes I just need it's like overstimulation, especially at a cheer gym or cheer competition. I just need quiet. I just kind of sit there. They're like, "Can we listen to music?" I'm like, "No, I need the silence," right? Yes, excellent. Yoga and breathing exercises. Excellent. Good. So thank you guys for sharing that. Music is a good thing too. I love the Mozart one. Good job. I love that, Dominique. Thank you. Yoga is a good thing too. It kind of centers that too and helps with that deep breathing in those. Sometimes listening to music, my husband jokes with me. He goes, sometimes I know what kind of mood you're in if I can hear the music that's blaring whenever you pull into the driveway, right? All right, so some final tips of encouragement. You guys, we are our biggest cheerleaders. You've got this. You got to keep that mindset. You have to stay that positive mentality. You've got this, and you're going to rock this. You really are. So if you have to tell yourself that all the time, tell yourself that. But you've got to do this. You got to focus on there. You have to get the negativity. So if you're talking negative about yourself, I want you to reverse that and start talking positive. Trust your preparations. You guys, there are lots of things out there. Archer is fantastic with prepping. We saw ads about our SurePass. We have intense prep. Trust your preparation that you are prepared and go for the resources for your support. There are tons of resources out there. Know what's going to be what's going to work best for you and get with that. So Archer, we have It's really across the nursing lifespan. We go from pre-nursing all the way to post-nursing in our nurse practitioners. So we are here to support you in your nursing journey every step of the way. So use us, lean on us. We are part of that support group. So lean on us for us to help with you. I thank you very much for joining me today in this 30 minutes. It kind of flies by. I'll kind of stick on for anybody if has any other questions. I hope you got something out of this. I really appreciate you spending some time with me this evening. Thank you, Jen, for helping and being that chat support. And I wish you guys the best of luck. Try again, practice makes perfect. Try using some of those techniques. Make your own toolkit. Thanks, guys.